Gary Mertig.
Here.
Rick Corpola.
Here.
Michael Berlin, which he's absent. He has not contacted me. William Metzinger.
Here.
Martin Vitek.
Here.
Okay. If Mike comes in, we'll change it as if he comes back in.
All right.
We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Also move.
Motion by Rick. Second by Marty. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We need approval of November 9th, 2020 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Bill,
I'll second it.
second by Rick. Any questions, corrections, deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Do we have any public on?
We have one phone number on there, 681-0671, or we covered it up, can't see it anymore. 0672, which we don't know who that might be.
Okay. Is anyone that's on the phone need to make a public comment?
That phone number you were talking about, that's Supervisor Huber.
Okay, thank you. Okay. If somebody comes in again, we'll tackle that. Okay. Commissioner reports, update on employee work schedule of 2021 construction. There's Mike. Morning, Mike.
Oh,
Oh, Mike.
here we go. Happy New Year.
Hey, you're late.
Well, on Monday mornings when you have that infusion, you can't control what goes on over there.
I know.
Yeah. We
Okay.
get going already or?
We're down to 5 commissioner reports.
five.
We're just starting on 5.
Oh.
Everything else was taking care of business. Okay.
All right. So first off, I'd like to start out by thanking the forestry department. Or if you remember, we were down one employee. We were trying to hire. We were having some trouble finding. We did have another employee resign, so we were down 2, and that which we were able to hire them both in early December. We hired Caleb Adler from Ringo area here, and then we hired James Sturgill from up near Ashland to fill them 2 open positions. So we got the positions, but we started out, we had no training, green guys.
You're lucky it wasn't snowing.
Yes. And then one of our guys in the Glidden shop had to go out for a surgery. He was out basically for the whole month of December. So Tom Ernst from the forestry department, he's our part-time employee. We had got him driver's license through the COVID money back earlier in October and had him trained in. So he plowed for us during December. Worked out great. He did an awesome job. We're very happy and thankful that Chris and Tom were able to help us out and get us over that hump. So we are up to full staff now, and everything is going good that way with employees. So yes.
Is Tom planning to stay in with the forestry too, or is he leaning about coming over to the highway if there's an opening?
I guess I don't know the answer to that question. I have no idea. I don't want to steal any of Chris's employees. If we had an opening in that part of the country, he probably would be welcome. But yeah, there's no plans or thoughts or talk of it at this time. I mean, I think we'll have an opening in Glidden within a couple. I mean, it could be tomorrow, it could be 3-4 years, but I don't know. But probably within a couple years. So at that time, if he applied, he worked out very well for us. So
Yeah, I know him quite well.
yeah, good guy. Any other questions on employees? I'll move on to the work schedule. So as some of you might have seen, we've been brushing on Highway 13. Pretty much covered the whole corridor with the the brush mower that can get the small stuff from top to bottom, Ashland all the way down to the county line. We were working in the middle or just above Glidden there on some of the bigger trees. We had a machine rented with a different style head that would grind bigger trees. That machine is down. It's supposed to possibly come back this week. I didn't hear if it did or not, but the snow stays down like it has been. We will continue on with that machine. It broke down there before Christmas, so it went back to the dealer. We haven't seen it yet. So
Yeah, the question on that brushing is, from where you are in between Glidden and Butternut, and you go south, there's a lot of trees. I mean,
There is.
like you said, you can't punch
Yes.
with a brush. So the intention is to take those out eventually?
eventually, I'm not going to say when or if it'll be this year. We're going to slowly work at it. I've been trying to talk the DOT into taking our shear head on our excavator down and just cutting that back, kind of like we've been doing on GG every winter. It's a lot faster than the machine we're using. So far, they have not given us the go ahead on that.
So
We'll
if
see.
we,
I would like to see that right away cut back.
so if we call DOT and Superior again and
Yes.
complain, because I'll tell you what, people are telling me they think this is the best they've ever seen the highway.
Sure.
When you come from Glidden North, you could, every comment I've heard from people saying that is really nice.
Yes.
It not only helps vehicle people see the animals, but it's gonna save the county money because the sun can actually hit the road.
Yes,
When
it
you
will
get-
save not necessarily the county, but the DOT money
Right.
to. It
Because the
helps.
sun can hit the road in the
Gets
winter and get rid of that.
Keeps the roads cleaner and better, no doubt. If you guys are willing to contact Mike Estranga, DOT out of Superior, it does help from him to hear from people other than me. That this stuff is helpful and people like it.
It's probably, you.
If anybody you or anybody you know, if you talk to people that are for this, tell them to contact Mike and lobby for more because it does help. He takes public comment very seriously. So
I've called them several times in the last few years.
good, thank you.
It is tremendous.
It is. It's a big difference. I agree.
You cut some on US Highway too with that brush cutter?
We did not this year.
Not this year?
We did. Was it last year or the year before? We have went through that section
Yeah,
within
it must have been last year.
the last couple of
Last
years.
year, yeah, 19.
We're gonna try to keep it on a 3 to 4 year cycle that we do like we did on Highway 13. It all depends on the year. We'd like to work on it. We get into October. If there's money in that state budget left, they let us start to spend it. They're pretty tight about letting us do some of the stuff earlier in the year. Once it gets later and they see that there's money available, then they loosen it up and we are able to do some of that sort of thing.
Good, thank you.
We're also down below Glidden right now, collecting some more rocks out of the right of way. The DOT, now that we've mowed it, you can kind of see some of the big boulders and they cause problems for our equipment when we are brushing. So they allowed us to do this last year. It was very beneficial. They paid us to go pick them up. We hauled them back to High Bridge and we got all these rocks for free basically. And then we hauled them out to Madeline Island for shoreline restoration.
Can't say that.
So they're having us do it again. So it's a good thing. We get rocks for projects we need, and we get rid of equipment busters down on the side of the road. So that's good. We are going to be starting doing some brushing on GG again with our shear head. Be down. I think we're down around Mineral Lake Road where we left off last spring. So we will be continuing cutting that GG right away. We've been cutting that 40 feet back from the center line. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but that helps a lot too. I mean, it really opens it up and helps us out on the county road. So we're going to be continuing with that. We have been putting in a brine system here in High Bridge. I don't know if you noticed, we got 3 new tanks back behind you there. The DOT funded a salt brine maker and the tanks for us. We've been doing the install in-house. That'll allow us, right now we make all our salt brine down in Glidden and haul it by tanker up to here. So this is going to allow us to make the material right here, cut out that trucking step. And also what we're doing is all the floor drains in here go out to a 5,000 gallon tank out the door outside here that we have to pay, a septic pumper to come and empty. This year it hasn't been too bad, but on a general year, it's about every 4 days through the winter that we have to empty that tank. All the trucks are out plowing, they come back full of snow, and then they wash them in here and whatever. So I talked to the DNR and Josh from zoning. We're sucking that water back out of there. All it is wash water and snow water. It doesn't have any sewage in it. There's no bathroom or anything goes into it. So we're sucking that water back out, and we're going to be using that to make the salt brine here. So kind of recycling that water and don't have to pay a pumping fee to get rid of it. And we don't have city water here in Highbridge, so we didn't have access to a lot of water to make the brine in the past. So now that just gives us access.
You have some kind of system that would filter that and,
We have a Venturi filter, just a small filter. It just takes the bigger solids out, but there's very little because every one of these trench drains come into there's a pretty big container down there, tank down below each drain. So that settles out all the solids. They go from there to another tank that sets out from the solids, and then we're sucking a foot or two off the bottom of that tank. So it's got a little bit of color to it, but it really doesn't have any solids to it. So.
And it would already have some salt content.
It will have some
so
salt content also,
it would
yes.
Now, I notice at times you guys do the bridges, and then other times I see you do sections. So do you do like pre-storm? Is that what you do on like the bridge?
A lot of times, sometimes it's pre-storm, but like this winter, we've been doing it a lot because once we get going in the winter, we're usually out plowing and salting. So the roads are salted, basically pre-salted, so they last a little while. And any ice or, like you're talking, a little bit of water, rain this morning down there, mist. There's enough salt on the road that it will hold for a while. When we don't get any events or else in the fall coming into when there's nothing on the road, we will put it out beforehand, spray it on the road. So it helps a lot with the freezing rain events or frost or even this freezing fog we've been getting. There's some material on the road and it prevents that ice buildup. So yeah, we try to, if we can do a pre-storm, we like to. It's hard to predict. You got to really watch if it's going to rain before a storm, and the turn just washes everything off the road, so there's no benefit. But so it's a kind of a guessing game watching the weather. And as someone said earlier, it should be a weather forecaster because they're never right. So
I got a question for you.
sure.
You're talking about salt brine. Is that stuff that you use in lieu of salt?
Partially. So we're trying to use less salt and more liquid. It's an initiative by the DOT they're really pushing this. So what we're doing, we do some of this pre-spraying and some direct spray onto the roads before storms or whatever for frost. But then the trucks, they're putting out salt, and right where it comes out to the road, we have sprayers, and it sprays the salt brine on that salt as it comes off the truck. And we can use less salt, and then it helps in other ways. It makes that salt wet, so it stays on the road. It's not dry, and it don't all bounce. The traffic car comes by and it sprays half of it out into the shoulder. So it keeps it on the road, and then it also activates it. Salt needs moisture to be activated to do anything to melt ice. So it gives it that moisture to activate it, and it also salt is really only effective. 10 degrees, it's getting really slow. By 0, it does very little. It can't get enough moisture to activate. So this brings that point that we can actually use salt on the ice to lower temperatures. It helps a lot with that.
They used to do up in the UP. I ran across the US 2, like a bridge for 10 years, and I was working on Greyhound. And if they had a forecast of freezing rain, trucks are out there.
Yeah.
have this down before it happens.
Yeah,
Sometimes, of course, you don't get it, so
Yeah.
you wait for it, but,
Yeah.
boy, it makes a big difference.
yeah, and we try, I mean, if it's gonna go right to, the temps are low enough, it's gonna go to freezing rain, we'll get it down beforehand. But if it's starting out at 40 and it's gonna rain for 2 hours, you know, we probably would not put it down just because
Just wash it away.
it just washes it away, yes. It's all a, kind of, should you or should you not, it's hard to make, the correct decision all the time, but we try the best we can.
I got a couple of questions in the town of Jingles. I noticed they don't plan the little hills.
Okay.
anymore. And they used to, and my wife says plan them.
Okay,
I know they ain't much, but it does help.
yeah, it's something we can talk, we have new people on that
I
route,
know.
so, you know, he's still learning and probably not doing everything as
he's
it was
doing it.
before, but
It's a great job, but.
yeah.
You could send
No,
it.
feedback is great because, you know, maybe he wasn't told to do that, you know, but, you know, Bob went through him with it, but maybe they missed that part or
Yeah,
didn't
and-
remember or
and
something.
ain't much of a hill, but.
Yeah, all right. I will, I wrote it down. I will mention it to them. Bill, you had a question?
Yeah, how does this winter compare to last winter so far?
I guess I haven't done it dollar wise. Last winter we started out with a bang there right around Thanksgiving. You know, we had them 2 huge storms, but after that it kind of calmed down a lot. So this year it's been pretty mild. We had a
Give it away.
okay. We had a few issues around Christmas. You know, the guys had to work through some of the holiday there. But overall, I would say it's more mild, yeah.
You got less overtime than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty mild. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of that for sure. Any other questions on work schedule? We can move into construction season. So the GG South project is going to be going out to bid, I believe, sometime in February. Some of that is with the consultant, you know, for that flat grant project. That's all being taken care of by through the state and the consultant firm. So that will be going out, and then we will have our portion of it that will be going out about the same time on the north, that 3 to 4 miles that we're going to do. So then we should be going out soon. Still working on that closed grant for County Highway N. If you remember that funds that were available from the revolving loan program, that was approved. We got the pre-application was all approved through the state. Now I'm working on, that was about a 100-page application. It took me a while. So I thought, great, I got that done. So now we got a letter, and it has a whole other list of things that need to be taken care of to go through the signed application. So I'm working through them. I'm hoping by the end of the week, possibly, depends. I have some stuff up at we have to create bank accounts separate for that project. And so the clerks and treasurer's office are working on a few things. Hoping to get that all submitted soon. There is one piece of our packet here today that we need to approve a procurement policy for that closed grant. So yeah, that should be sliding all through, and we can work on getting that out to bid hopefully sometime. I'm hoping by March, get that to bid for County Highway N. So that's our main construction projects for this year. Any questions?
Question. Signs, does the county put the signs up on like rivers?
Or are you talking county highways or state highways?
Like GG South, and I'll tell you exactly where. On south of it's the Chippewa River, it's way on the south there.
Yeah,
Somebody had something being delivered and it got lost with the Chippewa River. They said, well, it's just past the Chippewa River.
Where's the Chippewa? Which is
And I
the
said, where
Chippewa
are
or
you
the
talking?
Moose
And
or
then when I
the,
looked it up,
yeah.
and so I thought, I don't know if that's a county responsibility or somebody else's.
It would be our responsibility. We do not have them. If you guys are interested in think we should, that it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, we'd probably be looking at, probably $50 a sign plus a post to put them up. So it's not a big investment.
What I'll do is I'll go back to the people that called me and say, okay, we figured out it may be a county thing, but we're certainly not doing anything like that now.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
they
Yeah,
said,
if you guys want them, just let me know and we can look into them. We haven't in the past.
I'll ask them if they want to donate the $60. I mean, they really raised hell about it, and I said, well, I'm not sure even
Yeah.
whose responsibility that is,
Yeah.
if there is a
And
responsibility.
that would be per side, obviously.
Right.
You've got to have per side of the bridge.
I'll tell them that.
All right.
Tell them if they want to donate the money. then- Okay. Thank you.
I have a
Yeah.
feeling they won't.
They probably not, but
Anything else? Any questions, comments on that? Not, that's all I have for number 5.
okay. Okay, review of the road use agreement.
So I just wanted to touch base on this. This came to the committee in November and we approved, this committee approved moving it forward and supporting it to the county board, which it I don't know if it failed at county board or it was pushed off until the board meeting tomorrow for decision. So I just wanted us to have another discussion, just so it's fresh in our mind what we are talking about here.
I guess the reason it failed or was tabled was because there were some members on the board that felt that the county should be reimbursed for inspecting the roads. Because nobody did nothing.
Yeah,
It's costing us time, but we're not getting any reimbursement, and that's why it was tabled or failed.
yes. So Clark did contact Enbridge and they responded back. They will not offer any compensation for this. They have not for any other projects in Wisconsin or around the country. And they didn't want to set a precedent that they would start reimbursing for this agreement. So yeah, there is no monetary compensation that would be available for that. My opinion is it's in the county's best interest to have this agreement in place. They have a right to use our roads anyway. We're not going to be able to stop them. So if we have an agreement in place, it's just protecting us to cover any damages that might occur during that time of construction. County Highway A, from my understanding, is probably going to be our biggest concern. They are going to be using the Johnson Timber Wood Yard there on County A as a pipe yard. They have road agreements in place with the town of Jingles already to use Holmes Road, Airport Road, and all them roads. So they will be coming down A to that point. I can see that's going to be a heavy used road and probably our highest damage.
Why are they using that? Couldn't they use something that's closer to the town of Ashland? Because, you dump the pipes off, you don't have to haul them as far.
Yeah,
Doesn't the county, didn't we, one time we're talking about using the county pit or something?
they were possibly, they had asked about it and then they actually bought property right next to our pit. Now they bought the property around it. They will have a second pipe yard. Terry Peters owns a piece of land here just north of Mellon there, kind of where they had stockpiled gravel back in the project some years back when they blasted through that rock. So that will be another pipe yard. That one won't affect our roads as much. It will a little bit. There'll be short pieces of seed to get to their line, but not the length that we're talking about with County A. Because the line from here up is just basic to our sand pit with maybe 3/4 mile up there, and then I can't remember exactly where it crosses by the golf course down that way. Proposed crossing is they would just use a short section there. So
When is this supposed to start?
I really don't know. I don't know where it's at in their process at all. I know they were hoping to start sometime this spring, but where they're at, I have not heard.
I can maybe chime in on that, on a couple things. One, Michelle Johnson, works with Enbridge. She's my contact for this type of issue. From the aspect of the road agreement, she said they have thousands of townships and hundreds of counties they deal with across North America and Canada and stuff. And they obviously don't want to set a precedent by giving us even a nominal $1,000 because they're like, that opens up Pandora's box for them. As far as construction goes, they basically, they want to basically have all the permits in place. So there's still the EIS, the environmental impact statement, which is 13 or 15,000 page document that will be reviewed. There'll be public comments on it. That will go through the DNR. And then, so they're not going to do any construction until they basically get the DNR approval. In addition, they also really need to get through the Mackinac Strait issue, because there's been what was a permanent easement underneath the bridge in the straits has been revoked by the Democratic governor in Michigan. And so they're in court right now doing that. So if they can't cross the straits and get back down into Ontario that way, that kind of stops the project also. So I don't know if we'll see construction this summer or not. They would hope to. They really want to do that, but the Michigan and the DNR case has to go through. Michigan and the DNR has to go through. In addition, to touch bases on the possible either storage at our sand pit, or originally they basically wanted to come just cut the corner of our sand pit a little bit. After they saw the contention and the basically the lack of cohesion within the county board concerning the support of Enbridge for even for us to sign an agreement or a quick claim deed with the city of Millen, they withdrew and rerouted there, so they don't have to go through the political ramifications of having the county board basically either assign an easement on its own property or get an agreement with that sand pit. So they changed the route of that, and like Matt said, bought the property next to it. So we ended up missing out on some money there. So
Are you going to be at Zoom tomorrow, Matt?
I will actually be in person there. Yes.
Yeah, and so basically this committee should make a recommendation to the board again.
Well, we already made that recommendation back in November.
Right, so because some of the supervisors had some questions, it may not hurt for us to say whether we approve it or not. I do still have that one question that comes up every meeting, number 12 on page 3, where it says Douglas County.
Yes.
That's because of Enbridge?
That is Enbridge. What their explanation on that is Douglas County has worked through their court systems many times on these types of issues, and they have the experience with it. Where if it was to go through Ashen County Court, they would have a learning curve to get it all figured out. So that's their preference, is to keep that in Douglas County. Yeah, maybe Clark could talk to that again too.
Yeah, and we ran that by corporate counsel, and he says that's not uncommon. In fact, you'll see in multi-state agreements where you have the commerce clause involved, people will designate which state any questions would arise in. And so, and this Corp Counsel basically said this is because it's all in the state. If it was going to Minnesota or Michigan, that might be different. But he's like, it doesn't make any sense for us to fight on that issue. It wouldn't make any difference to us, and it would possibly save us money if there was a court case. Our court wouldn't have to handle the case, so it'd save us money if we end up there. So,
good, thank you. So
it's, I see it as if you want to make a motion on it to support this again, or just run off our last support, but just wanted to talk about it and make sure you guys are on board yet. I would really like to see it. I would feel a lot more comfortable if we had an agreement in hand with them to be able to get reimbursement for our roads, any damage. if and when this ever happens. That's, as highway commissioner, I think we should have this document in hand as recourse to get funding for our roads.
All the towns involved with this have approved it, right?
Yes, they have. That's my understanding, is all the towns have signed off on this. Yes.
Yep, and that's Enbridge told me that too. So we're kind of the lone holdout, but I actually don't expect any problems tomorrow, because it seems so logical to me to say your choice is either to get money from Enbridge for road damage or not. And I don't know why anybody in the right mind would turn that down, but stranger things have happened.
Well, and I'll say this, I agree with you 100%, Clark. The problem with this is not the agreement, it's the word Enbridge.
It is.
Yeah.
It really, I think tomorrow we need to say just what you said. We either may get money or we don't get money.
Sure.
So, thank you.
I guess after revisiting this, I'll make a motion that after revisiting this, that we go in favor of this road use agreement. I'll make that motion after revisiting it.
I'll second it.
Second by Marty. Any other discussion?
I think it's good.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. And if one of you could make a motion tomorrow soon, that would help, to get it out there for discussion right away. I would appreciate it.
Good, thank you. Update and discussion on the 2021 department equipment budget.
So I just wanted to do an update. Back in August, we had approved, our budget request that we were sending forward to the county board for approval. And in that, we had requested $405,000 for equipment purchases. In the final budget, that got reduced by $110,292. So it brought our equipment budget to $294,708. So I just wanted to update you. We did get quotes in order to plow truck. So we're looking at about 225 for that, which I had budgeted 240. Came in a little bit lower than I had planned on, so that was good. We did order a road patching trailer for heating that heats the asphalt for patch mix. We had budgeted 50,000. That came in at 42,000, so we came in good there. We had budgeted 25,000 for a new pickup truck. That came in with the. We actually changed our mind on which vehicle we were going to trade in. We traded in a little bit newer vehicle. The old one that we were going to trade in, we had just put a tranny in it, so we felt we would be better served to keep it for a little longer to get some use out of that dollars instead of basically losing money. So with the trade-in, we came in at $21,000 for that. So our current planned spending is at $288,000. We had in our original budget $90,000 for a track skid steer. There's no room for that at this time.
Do you need it?
It would be very nice to have it. The one we have is, we want to keep it. It's getting very high hours, but to have a second machine, it's getting kind of wore out. But it's something I after we get last year's budget all figured out, we might have some excess funds. We ended up doing quite a bit of work extra for the DOT and some of the townships, so we might have had a little bit of more carryover funds than anticipated. So I might ask you at a later date to use them funds for purchasing that machine, but right now it's too soon to the end of the year to have figured out
I don't know, but
where we are at.
I kind of think that the federal government is going to kick in to the states and the counties. I really do. But we'll see how it goes.
Sure.
I know.
Yeah.
That's on the horizon.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, the winter is so far mild. If it stays mild right through, maybe I will ask to use some of them funds, that savings, to purchase this piece of equipment. So
Yeah.
I'm not taking it off the table, but as of right now, we are not planning to purchase it, or we don't have the funds to purchase this machine. I did include our future years planning, just so you guys could see kind of where we're at for what our needs will be coming up. 2022, we'll be looking for approximately 430. In 23, it goes down to 365. 24, it's at 345, and 25, it's at 345. So you can see it kind of fluctuates a little bit just on our anticipated needs. Then there is a little column off to the right that's equipment that is not in our upcoming budget that we might need to think about. It might need to be revised at some point to put them machines in there, but as of now, they're not. So any questions or comments on that, I guess? Bill?
Whatever happened to the Madeline Island, doing that part, riff-rapping part that has been eroding? Is that, it was cut out of the budget?
Yeah, as far as the grant dollars.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. We can talk about it now if you want. I was going to talk about it on the next agenda and into our improvement plan. So if you,
Well, I just was, looking to see how far down the road that is and if that was in the plan.
yeah, so we could move to that improvement plan if there's no other questions on equipment, and we'll get into that. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go to number 8.
So I wanted to bring to the committee just in the past, we've always kind of had just a 5-year plan going forward. And I wanted to kind of update that to cover more years just so we could see what we'd possibly be looking at farther out into the future. So I put it out to 2034, actually. Yeah, it kind of, what it does is it basically covers a full cycle of all of our roads. We've been working on some already for a few years, and it brings us through that full cycle of the roads. After that point, we'd probably have to start back on some of them that have already been done. But I wanted to see dollar-wise, and these are rough numbers. Looking at today's budget, who knows what it might cost at that time. So I just I did it in 3 ways. Currently, we've been getting that 520,000 per year for improvement funding. So if you look at that first page chart I put on here, at that we're going to be about $8 million short of funding for that full cycle. And they're just numbers, and I mean, these roads will need to be rebuilt, hopefully in close to that time frame. Otherwise, if you do not rebuild them in a timely manner, well, I shouldn't say rebuild and resurface. We're just looking at taking the surface 1 inch off, putting 2 inches anew. That's the cheapest way to maintain our highways at this point. If we let them get real bad and it starts affecting and it ruins the base, you could probably double or better that cost that I have projected. Then you have to go take all the asphalt out, rebuild the base, and start all new asphalt from that. So that gets very expensive. So this is just to keep up with the resurfacing program. So the first one shows with 520 a year. The second page, I show it with actual funding needed per year, so that fluctuates a lot per year what we'd be looking for. And then the third one would go if we went to $1 million per year funding for improvements, where we'd be at. And that does come with a deficit at the end of a 1.8, which that number could change. There will be opportunity for grant funding through this period. I don't know what they will be. There will be some of the LRIP funds through the state would cover some of it. And I know that number would change, get us a lot closer to the ballpark. So I just wanted to bring it to the committee to see if you guys have thoughts on this plan. I mean, is it too aggressive? is it going to cover it? And then where your thoughts might go, how can we fund it? At our current funding levels, we're not even close. I mean, it's you know, the big one in there, the biggest cost that I have in here is County Highway H again, and that I have it as in 29. That would be a resurface. You know, $4.5 million to resurface that road. You know, hopefully we could find some funds for that too.
What about filling up where it's got eroding?
So as far as the erosion project, that is not in this here. We've spent probably over $500,000, probably closer to 600,000 between 2019 and 2020. We're actually in decent shape. It just depends on the water levels. If the water levels stay up, we're going to have to do more work out there. If the water levels go down, we'll be very well. So that's hard to predict. There is a FEMA grant available to apply for. I was contemplating applying for it for around $1 million. The county match would be $250,000. At the committee meeting in December, there was no support to bring in to fund that at an extra $250,000. They said if you want to fund that, you should pull it out of some other road projects. I don't see that as a good option. Coming up, GG is our big expense coming in road projects in the next few years. We're spending a lot down there this year. You know, we have $1 million flap grant plus some LRIP funds. You know, we're looking at a $2 million project. But North GG, and I don't have a number of what we spent there in 2020 is for maintenance, but it was a fair amount of money. We did a lot of patching. We put many loads of pothole patch material in there through the spring months. It was just blowing apart. And then in the summer, we did some rut paving to try to hopefully alleviate some of that for this year upcoming. But I don't see us, if we kick that project, keep kicking that down the can and pay for Madeline Island instead, GG is going to end up costing us more money than we can afford to spend on it. So I don't see that as a viable means to, with no extra funding for that grant. And then also part of that grant in the scoring criteria for it, there was a DEGS or GG rating that had to do with zoning rating. The county doesn't get a rating, but the townships and the cities do. The town of LaPointe did not have a rating. There's 13% of the entities do not have a rating. They were one of them. So with missing them points right out of scoring criteria right off the go, I think it would have put us out of the running for that grant. We would have spent a lot of time and money applying for it and then not getting it anyway. My question for the committee is, this grant is a yearly grant, and it looks like it's going to be well funded through the federal level upcoming. I would be interested in spending some dollars to get a design done on this. Probably, I need to talk to him for sure, but having Emmer do it, Emmer's willing to work kind of in-house for a very reasonable rate. To if we had a design in hand, it would help us when the grant process comes around. So if we had it designed and then the town is applying for that rating, so that would, by that time next year, or, you know, by October, November next year, when we'd start applying, or actually this year, for next round, we'd start applying for this grant again, we'd be in a lot better position to possibly get this. And then there again, we need to talk about the matching dollars. So it's kind of what you guys think or where you guys thoughts go with it all. Bill?
Well, I did a little checking, and the town of LaPointe pays 21% of the county taxes that are levied. They pay 21%.
Hey, but they're rich.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, so, that's kind of what I'm saying is, okay, you've got the city of Ashland, and then you've got the town of LaPointe paying 21%. And, they should get some bang out of their dollars that they're paying. And the only thing is that by not doing it, if it's going to cause damage, more damage, wouldn't we be better off to do something to avoid more damage? And the thing is, they are paying, like I say, plus 20%,
At this point, we spent that money and we are sitting pretty decent there. Part of that, what I wanted to do, Emmer's original project was like 6 to 8 feet above water line. He placed that rock. If you remember, I came to you guys earlier in 20, we had some erosion back behind it, which we went and fixed this year. It was, Nelson did the project, placed the rock. That was about 80,000, and we hauled all the rock and had the rock cost to get it to Bayfield. So probably $120,000 we spent out there this year. Part of this grant money, what I wanted to do was build all of that up another 4 to 5 feet to get it up a little higher. Obviously we're getting higher wave action than the 6 feet that it was built to. So that was a good chunk of it. And then there is more damage happening at some places. I mean, if left as is, I'm not going to guarantee it, but it's not going to collapse in a year or two. It's a long-term thing. I looked at the county GIS site. They had the satellite pictures from years back. They do them every 5 years or so. Which they did one in 2020, which is not available out there yet. So I looked at the progression of footage lost per year. It's about 3 feet per year on average. So, I mean, we still have in the narrow spots, probably 40 feet, 45 feet. So if you take 3 feet a year into that, I mean, you have a few years, 10, 15 years of erosion to happen. And in that time, if the water level would go down, it would alleviate it. So,
But then it goes up.
if it goes up, then we have a problem. Yes.
Well, and one of the things is recently, within the last couple of months, we saw pictures again, which were the same pictures prior to fixing. What the committee and the board eventually would want to see is what was the problem look like those pictures, and then where we fixed it to show people, to get a better understanding. Here's what we're spending our money on.
Sure.
Someone says you're hauling rocks, but about a month or two at a county board meeting when those pictures were shown again, or one of the meetings, they were previous pictures.
So that one was a previous one. I think one was a current picture. It basically looks the same. I mean, them areas that did not get fixed yet, it looks the same as what was before the previous of them last spots. Yeah. Yep.
This is Clark. If I can make a comment.
Yep.
I have two comments. One of which I think this committee should weigh in, or at least direct Matt to give you more information concerning the adoption of an appropriate, construction plan till 2034. And I think part of that is, at this year's finance committee and at the county board, we basically decreased the debt levy by $300,000 per from staff recommendations. And of that 300, we took a little over 200 from the highway committee, from the highway department, 110 out of out of equipment and 100 out of construction. So I think the committee, should guide the highway commissioner to say, do we want to fund these operations till 2034 at $1 million a year? Because that's a recommendation, that's something the finance committee will also look at to say, how do we do this? And then secondly, from a cash standpoint, I just wanted to bring to the attention of the committee, when you look at the top line in the spreadsheet, Matt, showing their $1.5 million of fund balance, it didn't hit me till today when I started looking at your agenda and the construction projects. Matt and the highway department do not have a separate account. They don't have a separate bank account with that money in it. It is actually in like the general fund. And we basically have taken $1.4 million and loaned it to the healthcare fund to pay for healthcare costs over the last 6 years. Have you seen a decrease? So we don't physically have that money. And if I went up and talked to the treasurer and the county clerk's office today, I said, so let's say Matt wants to take that money out of the bank and do something with it this year. We don't physically have that money. And so this is a more serious issue from a cash management standpoint. I believe we have the cash to do this year's construction, but we will not have the cash to do next year's construction unless we either raise taxes or we basically take out an additional $1.5 million loan to pay back the general fund for the healthcare fund that basically was utilized over the last 6 years. And the healthcare has been, they used $350,000 this past 12 months to support the healthcare fund. And we have a healthcare fund committee that is made up of 2 finance committee members, 2 department heads, and 2 line staff that we're going through, because we're obviously going to have to make a change to the healthcare fund. I would suspect that we'll definitely have an increase in healthcare costs, but it will be budgeted. Instead of right now, we're basically keeping the same amount of money for the last 6 years, and then we just have this unbudgeted overage. What we're going to do is probably do a fully insured plan. So we probably won't have $350,000 increase, maybe only $200,000 or $250,000 increase in healthcare costs, but it will be fully budgeted and fully within the process, instead of right now, which is just they're not budgeting for it and it just goes over because they hope that it won't spend that much money, but being self-insured, you don't have control over it. And so I just wanted to kind of make the committee aware that $1.5 million is not there. We don't have that money in the bank. And I think we'll have enough money for this year's construction, but next year the money isn't there. So I just want to make you aware of that. But I think it'd also be beneficial for this committee to weigh in on the $1 million versus 520 and the ramifications of supporting $520,000 per year in debt levy is, I believe, Matt, I think you say you basically will stop construction in 2023, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, in 2022, we have a deficit of basically 300,000 already.
Okay, yeah, so at 520, we're going to run out of money basically next year, basically. So, and it'd be good for this committee to weigh in to say, is that where they want to go?
This plan also includes some pavement preservation. I fully believe in chip sealing and preserving your pavements. And it should be done about 5 years after the new pavement. It should be chip sealed to prolong that life. We're talking, saving 5 to 10 years in pavement life with, a lot less cost. Right now, it's about $20,000 a mile to chip seal compared to, $100 to $150,000 to pave. So this budget also includes maintenance costs, the chip seal costs, to help preserve them pavements so that they last longer.
And what is your recommended improvement fund contribution from debt levy on a yearly basis, Matt?
Well, I look at it, these 3 options. I think $1 million a year would get us pretty close to what we need. We still have a shortfall after that whole cycle, but there is going to be, as I stated earlier, some grant funding and other opportunities in there to make up some of them dollars. So,
Yeah.
it gets us a lot closer than the 8 million if we stay at the 520.
I still say the federal government should help. That's all I'm saying.
It would be nice, yes.
I just think 14 years down the road is too far, because there's so many things that we don't know. And whether we, if more money's available, so, it's nice to plan, but, I can't go ahead and support something that's 14 years down the road. I'm not gonna be around in 14
Yeah.
years.
Hey, you never know.
Look at it from a short term though. If you go to the page with $1 million per year, that funds us out into the next, through 21, 22, 23. We get pretty low. 24, we're still viable. It gets us out for 5 years where it keeps us viable to keep on a scheduled plan. If we stay at the 520, we're done after this year. We have to do something different. Stop construction basically, or go to very, very small projects, which we can do, but it raises the cost considerable. They have all the mobilization and getting everything ready. If they could move in and pave 10 miles, it costs a lot less dollars per ton of pavement than to move in and pave 2 miles. It's not. There's so much setup costs and dollar costs to get the material there that you have to pay that no matter what. So you can get a bigger project. It's a lot more cost savings in the end.
Well, what would you like us to do?
Well, I don't know. I would like you guys to review this plan and hopefully, say, well, I don't agree with paving this road at this time for whatever reason, or I do agree. And then if you think, it's a decent plan, we need to figure out how to support it. As Clark says, how are we going to do this? I would like to see us to give $1 million a year in funding toward improvements. We're only halfway there right now. What do we need to do to get where we need to be? Other counties, Bayfield County, Price County, they've done bonding for the highway department, so many millions per year to keep their program going. I don't know if that's an option. I don't know. There's a referendum on the agenda for tomorrow. That's $1 million, but that's countywide. That doesn't really get this department, this plan to where we need to be even. It's that's not enough. I mean, because I don't know.
Yeah, the referendum that's on the books tomorrow doesn't have anything to do with capital improvements or debt levy. It basically is a whole separate thing. The Bayfield County basically is issuing, I think, around $1.5 million a year in 1-year bonds, the equivalent what we're doing basically. Only they're doing it through the bond market. We're just doing it through the local bank. Price County is basically going through a local bank. They're doing about 1.7 a year for roads in debt levy in order to pay for the projects here. So I think you don't have to make a decision today because this is not up, but I think you need to ask for enough information so that you can make a recommendation to the finance committee and to the county board. What debt levy do you want for the road department for maybe a 5-year plan? If you're only comfortable with 5 years, make it a 5-year plan. If it's at 520, well, we know to plan that we'll be done with construction in 2023. If it's $1 million, we know we can keep going. So I think even though won't make a decision today, give Matt your question so he can come back to you so you can make a decision of what do you want to support for a capital improvement plan for road construction in the highway department.
Okay, so if everybody kind of homework assignment, kind of look at this again. A lot's gonna depend on what really happens tomorrow. Because my thought is tomorrow, one of the ideas that's gonna be floated is that Clark and all the department heads sit down, not together, but one-on-one, and show where we can make some cuts. Because there's no way you're gonna pass a referendum without cuts. So after we get through tomorrow and we have a better idea what's going on there, then we'll have a better idea, okay, what can we do with this and where would it fit? Is it debt levy? Is it, increase in something else, or
Sure.
could be flip-flop? But I think tomorrow will be real big as to where are we countywide, and this is part of it.
So, go ahead.
If the county board turns down the referendum issue, then it won't appear on the ballot?
That's correct. So the process is county board has to approve it, and then basically 2 weeks from now, we give the information to the county clerk, and then she puts it on the ballot. This is the same process as the fair map referendum, which is on your agenda for tomorrow also. And that's from the League of Women Voters to basically change state law to make redistricting on the state, for the congressional districts, not at the county level here, but at the congressional districts, making it a bipartisan effort instead of strictly a partisan legislative issue. So this is the same thing that would go on the ballot at the same time. And tomorrow, just to let you know, I think the county board will have to weigh in at some point here. I'm going to have the auditors come in and say that, we basically we're running out of money. And I want the county board to be able to say, if you don't support the referendum, you know what, every department head's going to come in and talk for a couple minutes to say, this is the services that would cut. In this case, Matt is going to say, if he needs to cut, he will eliminate overtime for snow plowing. So we'll just pull the crews off the roads. We won't do mowing along the sides of the ditches, because we can save some money in both those items, but it'll affect services. Sheriff department will talk about basically what he would do to decrease the amount of money that the county spends patrolling and, basically only have one sheriff at a time. And I'm gonna have each department head talk about that. Bigger money ticket items like non-mandated services, like non-mandated programs like extension could just be eliminated, because that's something we don't have to do. And if we don't have to do something, why are we going into debt to do it? Office on Aging, which is Meals on Wheels, that's not something we have to do. We could cut that. So all these decisions will have to be made by the county board, because if the referendum isn't supported by the county board, then we'll basically spend time cutting services, and it'll be the county board decision to say, these are the services we want to cut. So it'll be a big decision for the county board.
So another homework item to add to this is if this referendum doesn't go tomorrow, what I need guidance from this committee. Where do you want to see the cuts? As he alluded to, we can cut most of our overtime. 90% of it plus is all in snow plowing. Can we cut overtime? I don't want to see it, but what do you want me to cut? We can stop mowing the county roads. And a lot of these effects that I'm talking about don't affect the state highways, because that's all funded through the DOT, totally funded. I mean, that's not county dollars we're spending on here. This is for county highways. If we can stop mowing the county highways, it doesn't have any effect on the road surface, and the maintenance of the road.
But it does.
It does an effect, but it creates a lot of more opportunity for deer car accidents. The person pulling out of their driveway, there's no vision triangle cut. They can't see a car, they get T-boned. It's a huge safety factor. But as maintaining my roads, it doesn't cost me any more in the short term. In the long term, the brush starts growing, and then it costs us a lot to try to remove that brush down the road. Long-term effect there is. Short-term, not so much. We spend a lot of money every year maintaining our roads. Potholes. We're still going to fill our potholes, but we go do it. And every year we spend 2 months crack sealing every crack we can find almost. We try to. That just prolongs our pavement life, helps them last longer, and saves us money down the road on that end. you know, do we want to cut back on our maintenance program? There's, you know, where would you guys direct me that I could make cuts to save money?
Nowhere.
There's no good option, no comfortable option. It's something. Everything we do is for a very good reason. It's not wasteful. It's not nothing. So I need direction where we're going to cut. Bill,
How much does the overtime cost us?
it's not a lot. It's 12 to 15,000 a year on the county highways.
That's it?
Just county highways. That's not including state highways. Yes, it's a minimal.
So if we spend it on the state highway, we get reimbursed?
Yes, everything that we do on a state highway is all billed at time and material and equipment.
County, we are responsible.
County, we are responsible for all county highways. Yes, that's direct budget dollars. We have a contract with the DOT for just under $1 million. It's like 987,000 to maintain their highways. That's plow them, mow them, cut brush, you know, all this that we do. So that's not affected by this discussion. That's at their direction to spend that money.
Do you have any idea how much it costs to brush the county highways?
Is you mean mowing or?
Yeah, mowing.
What was it? I think it was around 30,000. We had figured that out. I think that was about 30,000. That was actually half. If we cut it in half, it would save 30,000. If we just did one pass instead of right now, we do two, a second one down the ditch. So it would be
And you
about
need to do
30,000.
that.
I agree with that. Yeah, I would like us to
I
cut
don't
more
see you
grass.
spending any money that is wasteful. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, they're really, everything we do has a impact on something else. I mean,
Right, no, I
it's,
couldn't be more with you.
yeah.
I'm with you.
So yeah, I mean, it's something that for you guys to think about. I mean, you know, referendum passes or not passes, and then it still has, if it passes tomorrow, it still has to go to the citizens, which who knows? I mean, I don't see it getting huge support, but maybe it will. I mean, if it's going to be supported by the citizens, it needs to be supported by the board. So you guys, when you get questions, you can tell the need or what might change or have to change if it's not supported. So yeah, if depending on how tomorrow goes, and even if it does go for it down the road, I would like to have discussions, and I will be putting on future agendas. Where do you guys, where are you comfortable with me cutting back? I don't know. I mean, I can offer suggestions, but there's going to be ramifications and kickback on any suggestion I make. So I would like some direction on which way to go or what to do.
Yeah, and I think that after tomorrow, we'll have somewhat of an idea.
Mhm.
If it passes to go to referendum, we still probably not gonna have the final decision until April. And I'll just repeat, my big concern with referendum is last time it went down in every single township in the county but one. Every one,
Sure.
but one.
Yes.
That's my concern. And maybe people will, faced with some choices, will change their mind, but,
Yeah. It depends on how it's marketed, basically,
Right.
to me. I mean, last time it was marketed on, we have to pay for the drug problem in Ashland County. And the voters said, we don't want to pay for the drug problem in Ashland County.
and what you can't do, and this will come up, you can't tell people it's gonna cost them a cup of coffee a day, because that doesn't sell
No.
anything either. You have to lay it on the table.
Sure.
The counties provide services for this,
Mhm.
and Mary says, well, I use that service, I want it. Then the county spends services on roads, and Joe likes the roads, so he's gonna vote. You
Yes.
can't go to that, it's used all the time, I've been through 100 referendums, well, it's gonna cost you a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
that's not a selling point.
No.
The selling point is, what does Joe and Mary out in the public use,
Yes.
and what will they lose if it goes down?
Yes. And that's that's going to be part of our presentation tomorrow. You know,
I'll just,
I can say, I'm going to quit mowing roadsides. Nick is going to say, well, that stinks because I'm going to have one deputy on call at any time, and that's it. And he could be in Odena or Butternut and have a call on the other end of the county, and you're talking 45 minutes an hour to respond to that. So now, you know, Gary's pulling out of his driveway on F, he can't see, he gets hit by a car because the roadsides ain't mowed. The deputy now, he's up in who knows where, you know, he's 45-minute drive to get there to help you to take care of, you know, hopefully you're not hurt, you know, EMS takes you away, but I mean, even to deal with the law enforcement end of it, it's all kind of connected. It's
Okay, so our idea is to sit on this for today, see
Yes.
what happens tomorrow, and then forward. But in the meantime, we can
Yeah.
start thinking, if the worst case scenario happens and nobody approves anything, us or the people,
correct.
then we'll have to come back with,
Yes.
okay.
That was my intention, to just get the discussion started and show you where our needs are going to be, and then also to,
This could be a selling point too. If it gets to that point, I could go to somebody on County GG and say, well, we're planning in 2 years to do some work, or whatever county road
Sure.
we're talking, but we may have to push that back 4 years or 5
Yeah.
years or something.
yes,
So we could use that as a selling.
yes, correct.
Okay.
To have a referendum, I called the county clerk, she said it'd be about $250, and that's what the cost to have a referendum would be. She said about $250, if that's the total cost of the referendum, because there's an election anyway. So it's not, the cost isn't really that much, but I don't think a referendum will pass. If it passes the county board, I'd be surprised, but I don't think we'll even come close as far as, I think we can tell them anything we want, especially like Ashland with the school. You know, the school got a lot of people disgruntled,
It did.
and
I
they're
agree.
not going to be in favor of another referendum putting more money on.
Okay.
Dick,
But I think from the county's perspective, this isn't, even though a lot of county board members have told me just what you just said, Bill, is, you know, I don't think the citizens will vote for it. I think we need to do it anyway, because come this summer, if it doesn't pass, I'll be getting when we can get back together, I'll be basically having the county board come in, and we're going to go through a strategic planning session and reading basically our services that we don't have to do. We obviously can't change mandated services. We have to provide courts. We have to provide child support. We have to child economic support. You know, we can't not do those things. So everything else, such as, you know, mowing and how many sheriffs we have, we're going to rate those 1 through 3. And basically we're going to take all the 3s and throw them out the door, you know, but that's going to be a board decision, and it'll be by vote, because you guys are very supportive of highway. You may say it's important to keep this up, but Health and Human Services may say it's important to keep this non-mandated thing also. But when the whole board speaks as an organization, that's what we'll have to eliminate. And so, because it's not going to be, you know, the most important thing you do as a county board member is to set the priorities via a budget. That's not my choice. That's your choice as a county board to say, where do you want to put your money? And so that's the process that we would go through. And, you know, and some of these things, once you get rid of them, they'll never come back. You know, I was talking to another county board member about, you know, like extension. You know, we have some good extension staff. The one guy who's working on the, hazelnuts for this area. If we basically eliminate that, and then the people say, wait, that's not a problem. Well, those things are never coming back. Once you eliminate some programs, you'll never recreate them. And that's kind of one of my fears. But in the end, we do have to align. We have to align what we can spend with what the services we have. And if that means we just have less services and our county has less things for our citizens, that's a board decision. That's where you guys weigh in.
Thank you.
Dick got a comment.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, with the meeting tomorrow, think it would be unfortunate and irresponsible for us not to forward this to the public. Because of the fact that you got 21 people controlling their destiny when you can have the whole county controlling their own destiny. And the thing is that we should give them the opportunity, and I'm not in favor of raising taxes that much either. My taxes are terrible. But you gotta give them an option. And if they do a referendum and it goes down, then we can say, well, we tried to find a way to fund it through taxes, and that didn't work out with you guys. So now we push Clark and us in a position where we're gonna have to cut this and this and this. So it would be their decision to make those cuts if we go through a referendum and they turn it down. And I think we have to do that. I don't know what the answer is. Rick, I hope somebody comes with a whole semi full of money for us, but I don't see that happening.
There's a bunch of cash.
Yeah, well, the bad part is if that happens, it's a one-time thing anyway. We're gonna have to change the system so that we can figure out how to fund everything next year. And if that doesn't change, expenses don't change. I think that, I will support this tomorrow. I think, if you stop and think about it, it's really a no-brainer. Whether or not you agree with referendum, you really got to think about why you wouldn't agree with it to the extent to promote it to the taxpayers. And give them an opportunity to weigh in on it. And pretty much, I think, would get us off the hook a little bit when we start making cuts.
Okay, so we'll let the rest of that come to tomorrow, and we'll do our homework and read on this stuff. So, number 9, procurement policy.
So in this closed grant I'm working on, I touched on that a little bit earlier. We have to have a procurement policy, and the county at this time does not have one that Clark has been able to find or that we know about. So I talked to the administrators at the state, and they said they would accept one for the highway department because we're going to be administering this closed grant. So I put together using one of their templates. I changed some stuff. I put together a procurement policy, and I did send it down, and they said that would be sufficient if it passes through this committee. They would accept that. So I'm looking for support of this. If you guys have any, you want to read through it or want me to read through it or have any changes or suggestions, but I need to move forward with the, excuse me, the grant. I have to have this passed today. They give us 45 days they sent the letter out on December 21st. They give me 45 days to respond to it with everything. So, that was right at Christmas. So now I don't have a lot of time. Marty.
I read through that, that's pretty much boilerplate
Yes.
for that, and all it is a requirement of CDBG for thresholds for bidding and how you public bidding process. No big deal.
Correct.
So I make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Okay. Amber, you got that? Motion a second? Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. One thing, it's just information, and I know you covered in number 1 about buying local. It's going to come up in another committee meeting about the purchasing of vehicles from out-of-town dealers when the bids are like $300 or $400 a part. And I said it's up to that committee to make that decision or whatever their policy is.
Sure.
But I've already heard from several dealers that feel, and it's not the highway,
Yeah.
that they feel they were slighted because their bid came in $300 more. And my question there is, well, who's servicing these? Even though that dealer would have to service
Yeah.
that.
So let me ask you this, just in that vein, we've purchased 2 vehicles from Ashland Ford now. I mean, they're not in Ashland County, but they're basically a local company, you know?
Well, I'm talking about purchasing Superior versus
Sure, yes.
Ashland Ford
Yep.
or Von Holzen's,
Yeah.
Toyota, or whoever.
Yeah, I just was just curious how you think of
No,
that.
I don't consider them out of the area.
Yeah,
But this came up in another committee because the dealer actually called me. I don't know if they called Dick, but they called me and said, hey, we just want to know why we're not getting the bids, even though we were 300 or 400 a vehicle higher. And I said, well, maybe they're strictly going by price.
yeah.
But it did caution me because I know I've bid things before and taken a higher bid if they were.
Yep. I basically tell my department, you know, the shop buys a lot of parts and a lot of stuff. If they're 5%, say we need a new DeWalt drill, you know, if True Value is 5% higher than ordering it on Amazon, buy it at True Value. I would like to support that. If they're getting 10% higher, yeah, that's getting a little bit hard to swallow. I'm not really willing to go there.
Right.
But you know, a little bit higher is I for sure I agree. We need to support our local businesses.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Next meeting date, if it's needed, it may be.
So, yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, do you want to meet? I don't have a lot for February besides if we want to talk more about this improvement plan and
Let's leave February off for now, unless it's needed, and then depending what happens tomorrow. I mean, if the board votes no referendum, then we may need to start looking,
Sure.
or it may be at a higher level. It might be Clark and you first, and
Yeah.
then us later.
yeah, it might work to
So
go
let's
off
say
to March.
no
on
February
everything.
meeting unless you call and say we have to have it.
Sure.
Can I just add something? We passed that policy that, or didn't we, whether if someone asks for a county road to be opened up for ATVs, do they have to apply now at a certain meeting, or can they apply anytime?
We didn't put a date on there.
Okay, so they could apply any meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
We talked about that, having it once a year, but I don't think it was included in that.
okay, yeah, I did, I quite.
We talked about it when we approved that policy, but we didn't change it at that time. I think we left it at it, we start getting a bunch of them that,
To be honest, there's not a lot.
there's
left.
not a lot left. No,
I mean,
there's very
we
little
opened
left.
up a lot, but you're right.
Yeah,
If somebody came forward,
yeah.
but most of the roads are open.
Yeah, I mean, you got, what, County A, and GG
Right?
are basically your only two left, so.
Okay, so next meeting date for now, we'll no official meeting in February unless it's.
So we'll set it for March 8th tentatively for now. unless needed.
March 8th,
March 8th, yes.
we got less business in the winter than we do in the summer, right?
It kind of goes in spurts, I mean, depending on.
Depends how much snow we get.
And then if anybody has anything for next agenda, just call Matt or Andrew.
Yes, we do. At minimum of a week before we like to get that out about a week, real close to a week before the meeting.
Any other?
I got a question. They usually have a highway road school. That's been just all virtual now.
That was canceled. The January one was canceled. As of now, the June one, they're hoping it will be, but they don't have any concrete plans as of yet. They want to see how this vaccine rolls out and what kind of happens across the country.
I'm not going.
You have to.
So yeah, it would be early June would be when it's supposed to be, but we don't have any information of where that's at right now.
Hey, Clark, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any talk about mandatory shots? Not right now because they're not available, but is there any thought that, are you hearing any ideas that they're going to make it mandatory for employees to have the COVID shot, or is it just still personal preference?
It'll be a personal preference, and in fact, one of the bills that's going through the legislators right now It's passed the assembly, it's on to the Senate, it'll be a compromise bill. Governor most likely will sign it. It basically will preclude any employer, being public or private, from mandating a vaccine, with the exception of high-risk medical staff, let's say a nursing home. So they're still debating the nuances. Can you make nursing home staff get it so you don't bring it in? So right now we're not thinking of at the county of mandating it at all. We are doing surveys to find out who would be interested from the 1A and 1B. So these are people that would be like 1Bs or like correctional officers, which are inside with all these people. Highly encouraged. Most of them would take it, but some of them aren't. We have public health staff. So far, the county staff that we have reached out to most of them are willing to take it.
I can tell you from my department, it sounds like we will be getting a shot this week. 10 of the 16 employees have signed up for it. We kind of qualify same in with, I don't know what category, but with EMS and all that, they feel that, it doesn't do any good to have an ambulance driver if you can't drive down the road if it's not plowed or whatever. So we fall into a higher category.
Thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn is nothing else. Motion by Mike.
I'll second it. Oh,
Go ahead.
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
All right.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thanks, Clark.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow.